secret now. I see dead people.
Welcome to Blondes and Booze. You are about to embark on a journey, one that often leads to more questions than answers. But fear not, your host, Krista, Aaron, and Brandy have the experience, the perseverance, and yes, even the gifts to pull back the veil and allow us to glimpse the other side. They will share not only their experiences, but will introduce you to world-renowned researchers and experiencers to help you find answers in the murky waters of what we call the paranormal. Their bonds with each other reach far beyond friendship, resulting in a pull-no-punches approach to the many subjects they explore. Their goal? To open eyes, hearts, and even minds to what lies on the other side, and the answers residing there.
Hey everybody, welcome. Appreciate everybody being here tonight.
Hey, good evening.
Your Thursday evenings with us. Definitely appreciate that. We had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're all better. We're all fine. We're all here. That's what happens with live shows. It's nothing that we haven't already experienced, you know? It just happens.
Exactly. Yeah. I was trying to send a message and then I knocked myself out of StreamYard and I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah, we had more than one technical difficulty. That we did.
But we made it.
We made it. Just want to remind everybody, Tex is in the hospital. He had surgery today, and he's doing well. So if everybody could just send your prayers and good thoughts to Tex, we and he would definitely appreciate that.
Yes. So far, what we've heard is he's doing well. He's just, in a lot of pain to be expected. So
right. Brandy, you want to remind everybody what to watch, and we'll just get on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. On Mondays at 8 p.m. Central, it's Texas Front Porch. That's with, of course, me and Tex. On November 6th, Texas Front Porch show will be changing from 8 p.m. to 7 p.m. So make sure you mark your calendar. So just hit that notification button so you'll know when it's on. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m., it is Beyond BMR with Bigfoot Michigan Rob. On Wednesdays, it's Danielle Diva in the Diva Dimension. Thursdays at 12 p.m. Central, it is Bigfoot Michigan Rob with his lovely co-host Krista. Thursday evenings, of course, at 8 o'clock, it's us, Blondes and Booze. And also again on Friday at 8 p.m., it's Blondes, Booze, and the Woo. On Saturday at 2 p.m. Central, Tex releases his newest episode of Infamous Minds. And just special shout out to Midwest Night Watchers. They come on at 6 p.m. on Sundays.
Yep, absolutely. All right. I'm not going to waste any time. Brandy, you want to do the honors and introduce our guest?
Yes, I'm going to welcome Dana Stricker.
All right.
Dana Stricker. I love this lady. And my mom told me to tell you hello.
Hello. I love your mom.
Yeah. So, she was talking to us. She goes, who do you got on tonight? I said, Dana. She goes, oh, I'll be watching. Okay.
Yay.
Tune right in. It'll be great,
Absolutely.
And, considering that we're moving on with what we call Bootober, we're almost at the end of it. Can you believe it?
No, I can't. In fact, I was just thinking that today. I was looking at my calendar and I'm like, oh, I have to go to a certain store to read this weekend because it's like the time that everybody wants that at their shops.
Right.
And I looked at it and I'm like, that's trick or treat in my town. I'm like, that doesn't even seem possible.
No.
It's just the beginning of September to me, like 2 days ago.
Yeah. Right. And we turn around and here we are. I'm like,
exactly.
Oh Oh my God. And just to let you know that tonight we are not doing live readings. I just want to make that very clear, unless Dana, something overcomes her and has to say something, but
I
we're
get
going
all
to try to keep
dramatic
her off
and go,
that.
"Whoa." Yeah.
Yeah, right. We're going to try to keep her focused on talking about her life and things that she's encountered. So with that, just explain to everybody, because not everybody knows you like I do.
No,
And
that's for sure.
and they haven't seen you speak or do any of your your readings or anything like that, and which I find intriguing, because I've sat in on plenty, especially gallery readings. I've watched you and I've been completely amazed.
Oh,
So
thank you.
if you would explain to everybody exactly what you do.
Sure. I am a psychic medium, so I've been doing that professionally since I was 15 years old. I was born with it, I guess is the only way to put it, because I don't remember not having it. So as I was growing up, things were happening quite early in my life. Probably, I remember things from a very early age too, which is kind of bizarre, but I'm kind of weird in general, so whatever. But I remember playing jail in my crib, for instance, and I was too young to know what a jail was. It was 1970, maybe. I was like 2. So
Wow.
there's a picture of me holding onto the bars. My legs are sticking out and I'm just laughing hysterically. And I remember thinking, I'm in jail. But there's no way I would have known what that was. So I'm not sure what that is. I'm not going to even
try.
So I do have very good recall from early childhood, and I know when it started. It was right around 3 is when I'm starting to remember things, like seeing the man in the corner of our house that we lived in Milwaukee, and the lady that I get a lot of I hate using taglines like spirit guide, just because I just feel them overused. So I always call her the battle axe because all she does is yell at me half the time. When she gives the information, it's like, blah, 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 blah. It's not, you would think it'd be nice and cushy and soft. No, not mine. So I remember certain things like that at a very early age. And my mom never told me it doesn't exist. And so my dad, who was Irish Catholic, wasn't so convinced. I'd be like, oh, the man's in the corner. And he'd be like, Hail Mary, full of grace, like going on with his kid. So it just kind of went and went and went. And then at about age 15, I started reading tarot, got my first deck, believe it or not, in Salem, Massachusetts, at the witch store there. And I just started, I started a little bit before 15. I went professional at 15. And couldn't really do it in my hometown. My dad was like, don't do that. There'll be people with crosses and pitchforks out in the front yard.
Yeah.
Like Shrek. So he was probably right in retrospect, but through the course of years, when I was living in Northern Ireland for a while, so I read a lot of people in that part of the world, and I learned a lot about Celtic witchcraft and that sort of thing, which was kind of interesting to me too.
Right.
I'm kind of putting this in a nutshell because there's a lot.
There is a lot. I know there's a lot.
So I don't want to be like me, but and I went on my first paranormal investigation when I was 19, and that was before the bells, buzzers, whistles, and all the good stuff that we use now. We were using powder traps and personal experience and writing everything down as opposed to recording anything, because we didn't have that. It's a long time ago when I was that age. So.
Hey, that's no worries. I still use powder traps, at times.
I love powder traps. I think they're appropriate in some cases, especially. So
do you want to explain what powder traps are for some folks
sure.
that might be watching that might not know?
Some of the really young folks that
right.
It can be done pretty much. I'm one of those people that if it works, I'm using it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like baby powder. I've used cornstarch in a pinch.
And flour.
What you're doing is your flour, exactly. So what you're doing is you're laying down a layer of whatever powder you're choosing to use. and hoping that you get either like a high or a handprint or something in that indicates that somebody other than you is there.
Sure.
And wanting to leave a message or communicate. And that's just kind of an early, if you leave it on the floor, you might get a footprint.
Right.
Depending if you really want to put powder all over your floor or not.
Right. That'd be hard to clean up,
It is. I went through that. Don't use cornstarch on a floor.
Yeah. And surely don't add water in it.
Especially when nobody showed up to like step in it. So then you have all this stuff on your floor.
Right.
But
yeah, that's when flour gets a little bit touchy too. I mean, it's preferred baby powder because yet it's still hard to clean up, but you still can clean it up.
So, it's just kind of like the more old school. And there wasn't anything out yet on TV. We were just kind of doing what we thought. And, there was the case that it was in Whitewater, Wisconsin. It was above one of the shops. This is the old main street of Whitewater, which is a very haunted city. That's about 9 miles from me. And I mean, it's one of those towns where everything's haunted for some reason. I'm not, I don't know why. It just is. And there was activity in this particular apartment. It was student housing. They were freaking out. I went in because of what I do. And it was a woman. And we figured out they're like the front of this is the front. They lived in the front half and the attic was like behind that. So there was like all their storage was in there. And way in the back, there was this picture of this woman from 18 whatever or early 1900s. I don't remember. And they had found it in there and when they moved in, but never really touched it because it was there already when they moved in. And here it was, that was the woman. She wanted her picture back up in her house, which was their house, their apartment. And so it was an interesting little early thing for me to figure out. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
go ahead, Brandy.
Oh, I was just gonna say, wow, that's just crazy though.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say anything important.
Yeah.
See, back then nobody really thought this was cool. And it still astounds me every day when I see people, like I see all these people now that are so interested, which is great. I mean, it's great. But at the same time, I'm like, wow, I remember some of those people that now are like, oh, this is really cool, Dana. I remember 20, 25, 30 years ago where it was snoot in the air. And I'm like, see, nobody thinks that they believe in it until something happens to you.
Right. So, right.
And it's a little bit more different. Like yourself, I've been dealing with it for my whole life, as long as I can remember. So, if you don't have basically people close to you, like my family, they understood what I was going through because this has been a part of their lives. And it was easy for me just to transition from not understanding to understanding because they were there to explain everything to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. So I can see where if your dad is really against that as a child.
The funny thing about my dad was he believed in UFOs. Now, this man was skeptical of everything else, right? But he saw a UFO when he was in the Marines. He was over the Mediterranean or in the Mediterranean, and it was over their ship, cigar-shaped one. So I grew up with him reading Project Blue Book and all these, like really, for that back then, very clandestine and like, and in retro, at the time I was like, whatever, Dad. But now in retrospect, I'm like, okay, that's interesting that he was so against, because I believe I have seen them as well. So it's interesting how now I wish he was still here to see the progress of that particular thing where the government is actually like, we lied. They're here, so.
Your dad probably would have felt a whole lot better about things if he'd have knew it then.
He was just very like, I don't really care. I know what I saw.
Right.
And that was, even back then he was that way, but you tell him you saw a ghost, he'd be like, No,
It's like, well,
Karen
Dad, you
told
saw a
Dana to be quiet.
UFO.
My mom had seen things growing up too, so she knew, I was probably getting it from her side.
Yeah.
And so that's why she was always like, oh, what shirt is he wearing today? The guy in the dining room of our old house.
Sure.
And then I
Right.
had stuff happen at our new house here in this town I still live in. And she'd believe me and he'd be like, you're not hearing furniture move in that room. There's carpet on the floor, blah, 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 blah. Well, yeah, I was. So
Right.
some of this going on, but he was a nice guy. But when it got too spooky for him, he kind of exited right. He didn't want to.
Yeah.
Aliens
Yeah.
were okay, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I
What do
said.
you
It's like
prefer?
aliens.
Yeah. I never did understand that.
So what made you decide to want to do this for a career?
Ugh. I don't really think I decided to do it. So I worked for several years. So I've done the readings the whole time, but I had real jobs up until about 7 years ago. 7 years ago,
Gotcha.
I went into kidney failure and I was diagnosed with stage 4 renal failure. And
Wow.
so I was in the hospital for about a year and a half. Now I was out, in and out,
Sure.
but I wasn't even supposed to be here, to be frank with you. I was supposed to have a transplant twice. Went through the whole thing twice to get on the list.
Wow.
And now I don't qualify at all and they don't know why.
Wow.
So
You're a
obviously, I
modern day
can't
miracle.
I don't know. I don't want to ever say that because I feel like that's going to nix it somehow. But there's a reason why I'm still here.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I'm not able to work like a full-time job, like a 9 to 5, because there are days, especially if I do an event, for instance, I can be all there for the event, do the weekend or whatever, and then I am down for 2-3 days after that.
Yeah.
So I still have some limitations with it,
Sure.
but I'm certainly nowhere near death.
Yeah.
That I know of. No, I just went through all my tests, but it's just bizarre to me. It's almost like I wasn't slowing down to do more of this. And so I was made to slow down.
Yeah.
That I will never back off of that belief. I think that it was like divinely, we're going to zap her with this god awful kidney disease and slow her down. And
Yeah.
I really am not supposed to be here. So I'm very, very fortunate.
Yes, you are. Your job's
I
not
know.
done. Let's just go with that. Your job
Right.
is
So then I
definitely
started
not
doing it
done
full
yet.
time when I got better. So like the events and that sort of thing. I never did any of that before 7 years
Yeah.
ago, but I've
Wow.
read the whole time.
Yeah. Wow. That's
So-
incredible. That's really
I mean,
incredible.
that I every time I hear that story, I'm just like,
Mhm.
you know,
Every time
because
I hear that story, I'm like,
you know, it's
how
just
did
kind
that
of like,
even
I
happen?
cannot believe it. I've been around you. I'm like,
Mhm.
you know,
And I look like a totally different person, which is so interesting. I see pictures of me from, 8 years ago, for instance, before I was diagnosed, and
mhm.
pictures of me now. I don't look like the same person. And
Wow.
no, I'm not going to show you because you'll be like, oh, it's perfect for Halloween. But
No,
it
no.
just, well, a lot of fluid, and I never even realized it because
Yeah.
you're used to looking at yourself every day. It's so gradual that.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
I'm
Sure.
a
And then
lucky lady.
I know whenever I saw you, when I met you at, it was Potographs for Pooches
Mm-hmm.
back with Tim Miley, you
Mhm.
definitely have a great aura, a great,
Oh, thank you.
what you give off. You really do. You
Yeah.
have really good energy.
you got a good vibration. You make
Most
people
days,
happy.
not every day, but most days, I try to. It's doing what I do full time can get
Yeah.
to be a little much. So every now and again, I'll disappear for a week or so. I won't book anybody for a week or so because I only can read a certain amount of people in a week.
Sure.
Because I give everybody 7 days after their reading. I've done that for years. So
Mhm.
just in case you forget something or something happens and you want to ask me, I'm not going to be like, no, I'm sorry, you have to pay me another whatever, $50 or whatever.
Sure.
That
Mhm.
doesn't feel right to me. So I've always done it. Well, listen, if you've got more questions, you've got a week. After a week,
Mhm.
I'm not going to remember that. I'm not going to be able to get in tune with you like I was initially. And I'm not going to, if I can't give a good reading, I'm not going to read you, period.
Sure.
So I try to be very honest about that part of it.
Yeah.
But,
definitely appreciate that, because there's a lot of people out there just for the money. And I don't believe you just do it for the money. I do it
no,
because you believe, you want to help people and,
it's, like I said, it's very much, obviously I charge for my readings. They're usually an hour to hour and a half. I only do a couple, I'm not doing like 10 people a day or something like that. I'd be dead.
Yeah. There's a saying that goes back, I personally don't have a problem with psychic mediums getting paid to do it because you know what, it's your energy. You're working, so I have a friend that also does it, and sometimes it might just be, an exchange of energy, like she's done readings for cupcakes. It's something, to an exchange of some sort,
Exactly. And it doesn't always, I have friends that'll just shoot me a message and I'm not going to be one of those people that says, I'm not going to nickel and dime people because that feels like a storefront psychic with a light up hand.
Sure.
That I don't, not that that's a bad person necessarily, but it just, to me, it cheapens the experience and it's not supposed to be about me. It's supposed to be about them. So why wouldn't I give them extra time?
Right. So I heard rumor, Brandy told me that you actually, she'll be back. This is normal. She gets in and out of service.
Okay.
But yeah, she'll be back. Brandy had told me that you actually work with the police.
I have worked with, I started doing a lot more of that probably a few years before COVID. So I'm not going to sit here and say, I've done this for, 20 years because I haven't. I'm a remote viewer.
Okay.
I never trained in it. I never even knew it was called that. But I've always been able to do that.
Very cool.
So that's how I come into play. The odd thing about the whole thing is that I don't necessarily have a real good luck finding missing people that are still alive.
And I've heard other psychic mediums. For instance, the mermaid medium.
I love her, Jess Potter. Yeah, she's great.
And she said the same thing to me that she almost doesn't like doing that kind of thing because most of the time it's just not a good outcome. But however, she keeps telling herself. She told me that you are at least bringing the family something.
Yeah. I did. I think I've worked on, I can't, maybe 7 or 8, between 6 and 8 cases. Okay. I don't do them like 3 a week or something. I would never delve into that for that much. And I've found 4 of the 6. So I like that. I've had, a few of, there's one cold case I'm still kind of working on. And there's one I just never found and I feel terrible, but it's not, I'm not going to make something up.
Right. Absolutely.
To a family member about where they are when I don't know. And I just don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe she's still alive.
Right.
Maybe that's why, I don't know why.
Sure. What about pets? Have you ever tried, finding missing pets?
Yes, that's funny that you just said that. I get those every now and again, especially from one of my clients it's a town called Oconomowoc, which is probably hard for you guys to say. But it's there's a lot of dogs. For some reason, people with dogs in that area that go missing. And so she will send me messages, but I had an escaped iguana at one time. Somebody wanted me to find. Wow. I can find them. I do not speak cat, dog, iguana. I'm not going to sit here and say the iguana is feeling neglected, and that is why it is hiding under the pool. I don't know why it's there or why it left.
Right.
Dogs are a little bit more a human feel to me. So I can say, I think he or she is hunkered down out of fear here. So you're not seeing it from the road. But like when it comes to cats Cats are usually like whatever, you know.
Right. Right.
Dogs
They
are a
don't even
little
want
bit more, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm a cat owner, for those that might want to criticize what I just said.
Yeah.
I have pretty good experience. I have 4 of them. So
Yeah. You get cats for sure.
yeah.
For sure.
So yes, I do find, and I'm not going to say I find them 100% of the time. Again, I'm not ever going to say I'm perfect, but I do help more than I don't. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. A lot of people, I would see, people reaching out to, people such as yourself, wanting their pets or things.
And that's not something I'm charging for. Like
that's awesome.
I also don't charge, for obviously if I'm contacted about a missing persons case.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
If that was my child or my sister or somebody,
sure.
Yeah, I'll help you, but you're going to have to pay me $1,000. Really?
No.
Right. Right.
No.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I totally get
I'm
that.
a terrible businesswoman, I guess, but
no, it just means you have a good heart. That's all it means. Nothing wrong with that.
I just do it my way.
When you do readings, do you go to people's homes and find that some of the things they're going through, it might be because they might have a haunting in their home or even like a curse or something like that, somebody that's having negative type?
I have been to homes where there's been they've already experienced something there. If it's agitating, let's just give a for instance. Let's say it's a husband that was a really nice guy, and then they move to this house, and then he becomes a total jerk, and he's violent or punching walls or that sort of thing. I believe there can be some spiritual influence that way. What that is, I'm not going to sit here and say it's demonic.
Right.
I have worked with a demonologist. He unfortunately passed away, but I was doing work in that, and I know what that feels like. I still can't say for sure it was demons, but I can tell you I didn't like it. Yeah. And it was like, it's a whole different feel for whatever it was. Right. It was not really digging me. I can tell you, or the people in the house.
And I understand that because, I've been doing paranormal for a long time, and, demons are very real, but they are far and few between. And the few times that I have encountered or went to a location that had one, and Brandy can attest, just last year, we went to a location and there was a true demonic entity there. And I get dizzy. I feel like I'm going to pass out.
Mine is, I have 2 different things that happen. And I can say there's probably been 3. And now, mind you, I've been working or doing something since I was 15. So I've been around a lot of really weird stuff.
Sure.
And I try to learn from this weird stuff when it happens. But when I walked into these places, this was not like, and people can say what they want. Skeptics can say what they want. I don't care because I know there was a difference there, and it's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know what happens to me? The second thing.
What's that?
I get pissed.
Wow.
And that's where I'm not afraid. I'm angry. And so I'm using that solar plexus punch
right
when I was dealing with it. Like, you know what? You've chased these guys out. I'm not. And I can be as stubborn as they come. I mean, I'm mostly a very nice, easygoing person until it comes to like children or people being really negatively affected. And it doesn't happen very often, thank God.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you have a question here real quick.
Sure.
Red Raider asks, can people with abilities attract bad stuff?
I would say probably. I mean, I think everybody can attract bad stuff. So even if you don't know you have it with you, I think if you're like doing drugs or you're a raging alcoholic, and I'm not judging when I say that, but like if you get really, really drunk, that's what I'm talking about. You're leaving yourself wide open. Yep. Even though you might not believe in it, you're doing it. So it's going to start, you'll, and I think that does happen to some people where they just keep going down this dark road, and people say, oh, he's fighting his demons. Well, he may be literally in some cases.
Literally, yes.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
you don't know what you're picking up. And so if you are, let's say if you have some mediumistic ability, you're seeing people in your room all of a sudden, but you don't want to think that you're a medium. You might start using drugs to go to sleep at night, or drink more to go to sleep at night, because you don't want to deal with that. And that just makes it easier
Sure.
for more of the same.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to make that sound super common. I wouldn't want anybody worrying about that. But I do believe that you're probably more susceptible with ability than not. And I don't care what crystal you carry around, what pendant you wear, what blessing you do. When it comes to that particular kind of energy, it could care less. Sorry, guys. The only thing I've seen really work with that stuff is stuff more on the Catholic side of things.
Yeah.
And I'm not I don't practice that type of religion. So, but everybody hates the Catholics till they need an exorcist. It's true.
Yeah, but being in the position we are, we always have somebody on speed dial. It's like, I might not have this, but I know a guy.
Well, I had my guy, and the curious thing is when I worked with that, and I won't say his name and name drop things like that, but we were working a case that was south, and it was myself and him and this other lady that was from a different country. And we were working this for quite a while. I think it's still sort of active. And he died. He called me on a Wednesday and he passed away on a Friday. He told me he was under attack from something. And I was like, oh, it's, something else or whatever. But he's like, just make sure to, keep this woman, active in this case. And I'm like, okay. He passed away. And then I think it was last year, the other lady passed away.
Wow.
So I'm the last woman standing, and I'm going,
Yeah.
I mean, I've just not experienced them. I would never ever call myself a demonologist. I don't want to be one, but I was the in between.
So Red Raider asks, she says, like, I guess I'm asking how it works its way to an innocent with abilities. And I actually have talked to her today, and I know where she's coming from on this. And
so are you talking like a person that's unaware that they have?
They're aware. I think, they're aware.
Like a trickster, like a little trickster coming in and acting like it's one thing when it's actually something else.
Right.
That's the unfortunate part too. If you don't have a whole lot of experience with it, you really need to talk to somebody that does it. Somebody that really knows that sort of thing. I would never dream to go in and try to do an exorcism. I'm the last person, but I will go in and say yay or nay. And when I interview the people, I don't want any part of the actual dismissal or the attempt, because that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not what I do.
I'm exactly the same. I just want to be able to know, identify, and call somebody. That's all I want to do.
And that's all you really technically should do, because that you're screwing with a lot more than, I don't know. It just makes me really uncomfortable. And I know there's a huge group, there's different groups in the paranormal. And I think there's certain groups that don't believe there's anything like that out there, that we're misinterpreting what that is. And I have to disagree with that. I think where there's all this good, there has to be the bad, and when there's white, there's got to be black. And guess what the black is? That's the balance. That's the way life works. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you.
But again, not my wheelhouse, not something I'd ever claim as a specialty. I have worked with it. Yes. Can I identify it? I'm pretty confident. But again, they can be tricky.
Yep. Absolutely, they can be. That's how they gain their access. You're going to open your heart and your minds, open to a child or an elderly person.
Yeah, and that's where I get like really angry again. Like when I'm in that position, if I know, the one case I was working, there was levitation of one of the children.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's blatant.
Yeah.
And it felt fake.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got ticked.
Yeah.
And the fear left. So I don't know if that's higher power coming through because I'm a chicken.
Yeah. Well, that's
But
the thing
with
with these bad things, you have to, as scared as you are, you have to show no fear. Otherwise you can become a target,
And maybe that's, the curious thing was I had and this isn't really funny, but I called it this just because anybody that knows me knows I crack jokes all the time. That's how I cope with all of this. But I had my exorcism bag in my car. Mm-hmm. So it had like holy water, some prayers that I got from the guy I worked with, and various and sundry other things were in there. And I went on a cruise and I left my car parked at like an airport thing where they lock it in. Well, it got broken into. And guess what? The only thing they took out of that car was my exorcist kit.
Wow.
And I was so upset because some of the stuff that you have to get or that you like to carry is kind of expensive and one of a kind type stuff, like the crucifix my grandmother gave me when I was born. That's gone. But there were some other things in there and I was upset about it. And I thought, how strange. And the cops were like, well, what was taken out of there? And I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Right.
Well, you want me to tell you? And I'm just wondering if it was just Joe Blow that just stole it out of there thinking it was like a purse or something. Must have been pretty shocked when he opened that up.
Right. Yeah. No kidding. Open it up and there's a smudge kit,
The book of exorcism prayers and rites and all this stuff in there.
Right. Probably trying to find you how to give it back.
Right. Probably in some bush in Milwaukee somewhere, like hanging in there right now. But the curious thing about that though is probably within that was the last cruise before COVID. So it's been a few years now. So I would say it was about a year and a half after that happened. I started finding some of the contents of the bag in my room.
Okay, that's weird.
No, that's weird.
And I not making it up.
That's almost more like a divine power coming through and given back to you.
There was the incense, the frankincense that showed up. There was some others. I can't remember all the stuff, but there was quite a bit of the different things that were in there, but not my crucifix. Yeah. Which I really wanted because that's the one thing that mattered the most. Wow. Well, and this is kind of funny. I had the group that I was working with at this time thought they were mostly guys. And if you ever work with all guys, you know how that goes. You have to have a good sense of humor. So as a joke, they had given me a penis voodoo doll.
That's hilarious.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that on here, but I'm gonna.
You're fine.
So
that's an okay word.
This bag, and it had like the different points, and you push
hilarious.
The pin. It was a joke thing that they had gotten me. So I had all my serious stuff in there, and then this penis voodoo doll. So whoever stole that bag.
Wow, that's funny. That's too funny.
And I'm like, well, that hasn't shown up here either. So
yeah, there you go.
That one's still out in the ether somewhere. But
yeah.
It's just kind of funny that was in there.
Yeah. I mean, because you're thinking of that voodoo doll, and then you're thinking of a crucifix, holy water, all these kind of things, and all these passages written down, and oh my God, I don't know what I would have done with that bag. I don't know what I would have done.
I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall when they opened it.
Me too. That's what I've been saying for years. I'm like, God, I wonder if it was just one person, or did he take it somewhere thinking he was all cool, thinking he had a purse? Because it was a really neat bag that I had, and it kind of looked like a purse. So I probably thought it was a purse.
Sure.
And I'm a Wisconsin woman, and I had a crock pot in the car, and I'm like, they took the fake leather purse, but not the crock pot. What are they thinking about?
Right.
A perfectly good crock pot in there.
It's a great crock pot. So
that's awesome.
So that's kind of a story. But yes, I have worked in it. You know, and you guys, it sounds like you've had some experiences with it too. And I say to people, you know, so people that don't believe in such things, I'm like, you know, that's fine for you. But be real careful. Just be careful.
Yep.
Because if you get too cocky, man.
Yep.
You might
Then
step in something you're not used to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I real quick, we're going to veer down a different rabbit hole real quick, only because I heard you say you're from Wisconsin.
I am.
And I think Brandy knows where I'm going with this.
Beast to Bray Road.
Yes.
Beast to Bray Road. Okay, Bray Road is like 15 minutes from my house.
Oh, wow.
So this is a good one, though. I grew up here. I never, ever heard about that until I was out of high school. But my friend's brother, Tommy, saw it.
Wow.
So I have talked to her extensively since I found that out. Also, my sister's friend had something happen I'm in a place called the Kettle Moraine Forest. So kettles are really deep gullies and the moraines are like tall hills. So it's very much like this, but only in a very select area of Wisconsin. It's where the glaciers came through. Okay. So all of that is state forest. So all the way around me is trails and such. So there's stuff that's happened. We have just about the gamut of weirdness out here. So we have the cryptid, the UFO, and the ghost stuff all within a 50-mile radius. And it's like a lot. But my sister's friend was making out with her boyfriend. Making out. Boy, that dates me. out at this ranger station outside of our town, maybe 5 miles down the road from here. And something came out that they claimed was a squatch, and it grabbed the front grill of their car, and her boyfriend floored it and went backward, and it pulled its arm off, and they drove back into town. Now just wait till it gets better. They drove back into town with this arm hanging off the front of the car. That girl's dad was the police chief of my town.
Wow.
So this is not like he was involved. He had to call the state. And all of a sudden, these people showed up, took the arm, and were like, oh, yeah, we'll get back to you. Never heard another word about it.
Wow.
And that was in the 80s.
That was back in the 80s.
I was not there. My sister's friend is pretty reliable. The police chief, was a very good friend of my father's. He is now deceased, as is my dad. But where there's smoke, there's fire on that one. Again, I'm not witness to it. I didn't see it, but I heard about it. And I remember being absolutely horrified by that story. Yeah. Because who's running around the woods all the time?
Yeah, you're like,
wow.
Right.
And so in that area, is there, like a lot of accounts of like missing pets or people or anything that could be contributed?
Not specifically like in my town, but about 16 miles from here, it's on a highway called Highway 106. Off of both sides of that, there's a lot of farmland. I have a friend named Jackie who's out in that area, and they've had some stuff happen in that respect. I can't remember all the details, but I also know there's been some hunting dogs that have gone missing. Gotcha. And they're always trying to blame the coyote population, but they found one of these hunting dogs that was completely decimated. I mean, it was bizarre. And yeah, there's just a lot of really weird stuff that comes in and out here. But the Bray Road thing, I have not had an experience on Bray Road. I've obviously been there a few times.
Yep.
That's how I roll.
You're just like, I've been there.
But I haven't had anything happen. However, I used to do some speaking up at the high school. They invited me up as they had a small paranormal group, like a study hall, but they formed like a club. And so I'd go up there once or twice, every couple of months or something. He'd have me come up and we talked about the beast. Okay. And the one girl in the classroom at that point was like, you know, one of those, she was pretty dramatic, but she was a teenage girl. She's like, she's all get all teary. And I'm like, oh, great. Here we go. A half an hour talk. And I got somebody bawling. I'm not even doing a reading. And she's like, my dad just saw that like 2 months ago. I said, the beast of Bray Road. She's like, yeah, he was driving home from work. Because it's a straight line from Elkhorn, Wisconsin, which claims the beast of Bray Road, to Palmyra. It's all farm, okay? Farmland everywhere. Yeah. Forest or farmland. So it's perfect for hiding for something. Yeah. And I like that comment. Yeah. That's right. They call him Stumpy. So anyway, she said that he was driving home and he doesn't, you know, none of these guys these are Wisconsin guys. They deer hunt, they drink beer.
Sure.
Yeah.
They wear flannel a lot. They're just guys. They're not.
Watch the NFL.
Not a whole lot of big Bigfoots, you know, type people looking in. Sure. But he saw this thing and he proceeded to go home and he was in his house for like 2 weeks and he wasn't talking, and he had a very profound experience, but he never told exactly what it was, but he told his wife some, and that's the daughter got the information from the mom. Wow. And that was like in recent history. So whatever, my friend in high school lived in that area too, and she had weird stuff out there. Yeah. Like a lot of really weird stuff. She'd be a perfect guest on one of these shows because she's got some really strange stories about living out there.
Send her our way. Absolutely.
I can get her to do it. Yeah. Michelle Rainey, are you watching me? Because I'm on. Watching, she's on call. But she grew up out in the middle of nowhere, basically, and has some pretty cool stories. And the thing is we were in the same class, and my class had 78 people in it. It's a small town. Right. Mm-hmm. We never talked about this stuff. Wow. That's crazy. Afterward. So yeah, we've got pretty much everything. Yeah. Have I seen Bigfoot in Wisconsin? Yeah. Can I answer that? Yes. I personally have not seen one, but I have heard one. You could hear one standing in my backyard. Really? And I have witnesses to that. Mm-hmm. Wow. And everybody's like, it's a bear. No, it wasn't a bear. It wasn't a deer in heat. Right. It's if you like listen to other calls on, well, you guys are really into that, aren't you? Oh yeah. You know what I'm talking about. There's a very distinct followed up by this really horrendously skunky, gross smell. Yeah. Yeah. And there was a sighting in my town at some point, but that's somebody else's project and I don't want to be stepping on stuff. Right. So, it's around us, and I think it's probably up northern Wisconsin as well. Yeah. Into Michigan, obviously. Yeah. But we've got something going on.
Yeah. Well, I kept saying that, you know, growing up, I said, I'm surprised I'm still alive. You know, growing up in Michigan, running around the woods in upper Michigan, you hear the stories growing up, but you don't really pay attention. Sure.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I grew up camping too, and we're out in the woods and running around, and I never had anything happen to me that way. No. My son went on a walk and had rocks thrown at him. Oh, wow. And that was just literally, if you ever come back to Wisconsin, Brandy, I will bring you here and take you to those trails.
I will make a special trip. Honestly,
there's just stuff, and he got pelted with rocks, and they could hear like a large movement. And now we have deer. Very recently, the DNR released 21 black bear down here, so everybody was freaking out because it was like seeing a unicorn. Right. We didn't really have them down here, you know. but that was before those bear were released.
Yeah.
So there was something of and it wasn't a dog because nothing came out at him. But you just don't know when everybody looks at you like you're nuts, and I'm like, whatever. Wait till it happens.
Is it something that's talked about a lot in your town, or?
No, not really. I mean, the town that I live in, I grew up here. I love the people in this town, but we're jaded. They're old. There's a lot of very elderly people here, and they just don't want to be bothered about it.
Sure.
But I was telling the person that's working a project around here and has been for quite a while. I bet if he sat down with a bunch of farmers, they'd be like, I ain't never had anything like that happen. That kind of attitude, with arms folded like this. Yep. And then, John Smith in the back will be like, all I can say is this one time my chicken coop got wiped out. I'm making them sound Southern when they're from Wisconsin, but you know what I mean? But they might admit to certain things or say, I did hear something, but it's like they're not going to want to look crazy in front of everybody else. And I don't care if I look crazy.
Right.
There is a story too about, there was a girl that lived next door to me. She's quite a bit older than me.
Well, hang on with that story just a moment, because we're coming up on the 52-minute mark where we have to take our 5-minute break. That's because we have to pay the bills. We have to pay some bills.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We can continue after. We just have to stop at this point and just let everybody know, stick with us, and we should be back really soon.
5 minutes, guys.
Barring no technical issues.
I'm not moving from here because otherwise
I'm not either.
But I'm going to let my cat in. So
there you go.
Okay. All right. See everybody in 5.
5 minutes.
Perfect.
Welcome back.
I made more tea during the break.
That's okay. I got mine right here.
Right. Real quick
I
before we move on, I want to give a shout out and a thank you to Bigfoot Michigan Rob, War Criminal 7, Be Kind, and Letitia Nunley. Thank you all very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you for the super chats. And we want to welcome everyone who is new to the show or even new to the chat. We thank you for coming and checking us out.
Spending your Thursday evenings with us.
That's right.
Appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. Okay, let's go back to where we ended.
We were talking about Bigfoot, Beast of Bray Road.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you said you had a friend, and then you started with that, and then I stopped.
Grew up next door to me, or her. Let's put it this way: her mother, her dad married the lady next door to me. That's it. Anyway, she was a lot older than me, and we have this Palmyra page on Facebook where you have like a community page type thing. But this is Palmyra history. That's where I live, Palmyra. And I'm reading it one day, just going through it, and here they're talking about in the 1970s, there's a hill. We have an artist, he was famous in the area, put it that way. They put a star up on Bald Bluff is the name of it. It's, again, like I said, we're very hilly, and then it goes down in these gullies, right? And so you could see this star from quite a long way away. And they would leave high school and go and watch for, it was Bigfoot, I think. They'd see it go walking up to that star point and up and over the hill. Like it was a thing they did. Like, let's go do that. They never really reported it, but they would go and do this. And I'll find the article at some point, and I'll send it to you, Brandy, because it's really interesting how blasé they were about it. But, where the parents being like, yeah, right, that's what you're seeing, ha, ha, ha. But there was something that they were going out there and watch. And I knew her as an adult, and I don't really think that she'd make it up. Right. Like, it made the paper, for God's sake, back in the day. So apparently it's been, even back to that. Now, whether that and the Beast of Bray Road are the same thing, I don't know. Sure. There's a house in my town. It's quite old. It's up on a hill. Everything's up on a hill. But, it's up on a hill. And it's at the pillars of the front porch. It's a very large Victorian. Are all wolf heads. Oh, wow. And there was some tie-in that Linda Godfrey had. Do you familiar with Linda Godfrey? Yep. She lived up the road from me too. Oh, wow. So she was very near. I did not know her, only surfacely said hi. She knew I was from Wisconsin. Sure. Very nice woman. But she, in one of her books, she talked about that. Like it was kind of like to ward off maybe something. Wow. But that beast has been seen, or whatever it is, over in Jefferson, Wisconsin, which is not far from here either. Wow. And Dogman was reported over in a Conomowoc area. And there's all kinds of it. And it's just kind of swept. Nobody wants to talk about it. Right. Man, do I watch myself when I drive home at night. Absolutely. You should. Yeah. It's going to come out. I'm going to get my cell phone, and my stupid camera lens is going to be blurry. And I'm going to look like everybody else's Sasquatch picture. Yeah, there you go. Maybe you should get like just a dash cam and just record if you're coming home at nighttime or whatever. But I think that would put a curse on it. Like I'd never get anything except for like a deer smacking my windshield, which is what I'm usually watching out for out there. Yeah, not really big stuff, but we what do you believe that the Beast of Bray Road is? I can only make a speculation on it. I have a feeling, and I think this is kind of becoming popular, or more people are leaning this way, as I think it's a Sasquatch, but I think there might be other things too. Like Dog Man isn't necessarily, we have Goat Man reports over by Heartland, Wisconsin. I mean, we've got every farm animal man or goat man, wolf men,
whatever. They're all there.
Yep.
Well, you've got the perfect habitat.
I'm reading a comment that's up from Spiritual Odyssey. My sister also lives in Fort Atkinson.
Wow.
And yeah, that's right. Any of that wooded area. I mean, even if you're a skeptic, there's just weirdness all over the place with that stuff here.
Absolutely.
I think it's like time slips or something. They're traveling through something that we don't know. And there's so much UFO activity tied into those sightings sometimes too, where people are reporting the mini suns. My son has seen the mini sun looking anomaly out when he's driving around, and he comes home. I saw the mini sun. I'm like, what? Because I wasn't there, of course. But yeah, we had a burning ring of fire, literally. I know it wasn't Johnny Cash, but there was a burning ring of fire outside of town one night. He came and got me. He goes, it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It's a solid ring. It's just bizarre things all over the place. The cryptids are just part of it, I think.
Yeah.
So I think it is like a port. I don't like the word portal, but I'm going to use it. They're coming in and out, which is why we're not seeing them all the time. That or they're masters of disguise and blend in, like that most recent video that's out of those people on the train that took and the people. Some people are saying it's a guy in a ghillie suit. Some people are saying it's a costume from a local business there. I don't know. That thing's looking pretty funky to me.
It does look pretty funky. However, I do believe it is fake only because the guy that is filming it, he has no excitement to it. And I've told everybody, if it was me or Brandy or you, we'd be like, oh my God, we'd be freaking out,
Yeah.
But this guy's like, oh, there's the infamous creature. I mean, there's no excitement.
You're right. But at the same, the example though is like, if they are able to hide that well in their surroundings in a camouflage aspect, like that thing kind of did, I just can't definitively sit here and say they're here all the time walking around.
Yeah.
But I know they do walk around at some point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, I will tell you this. I do believe, if you've heard the Bigfoot, they're around your house and things like that. I believe people being open, such as yourself, I think like you have a light bulb on your head and it's bright and things from the other side can see it. Why can't a Sasquatch or the Beast of Bray Road or somebody like that, also see it?
I get a lot of night visitors to my room. I'll tell you right now, sister, if a Bigfoot shows up in here.
Right. Well, I'm just saying,
I'm out of here. I'm out.
I why not? Because I feel like, people like yourself, like they do get the visitors, the roamers, type thing. Why couldn't a Bigfoot see your light also?
Yeah.
As it was put to me once, it's funny you're putting it that way, but like being for a medium, for instance, I was told, imagine you're on an airplane looking down and you're traveling over a city, right? And you see all the little teeny tiny pinpoints of light that are the city below you. To the spirit world, you're like the Statue of Liberty standing in the center of that. So you're going to be the highest point that they're coming into, right? So maybe that is the same way, but I would, it's not like I'm specializing in cryptids. I just happen to live in an area that people are always telling me what they're seeing out there. And I'm not doubting these people. Right. I've known most of these people my entire life. So I know the BSers from the not BSers, and there's something happening in Wisconsin. I can promise you that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, most definitely. Brandy and I, we had our first Bigfoot encounter here about a month ago. Brandy actually saw it.
Did you really?
I did.
And
I did. What do you want to know? Because it was whole lot of things. Well, this one was about 6.5 foot tall. I know it was under 7 foot tall. It was standing approximately 20 feet from me, from the car. I had slept in my car that night because there was a storm, but I was sleeping in a tent with Krista, but Krista had a cot, but I had a mattress and it was raining. And I'm like, I deflated my mattress, put it in the car because I'm like, this stuff is all going to be wet. I am not sleeping on that floor. So I slept in my car. There was a tapping on my car. I really didn't wake up to it. I'm just kind of like, it's probably just rain or whatever, something. I didn't, pay attention, and it was just tapping along the front of my car, right? And then a little bit, just in a few minutes, I started hearing footsteps. I'm thinking it's Krista getting up to go, to use the restroom. Well, we have the girl code. Nobody goes alone. Nobody goes alone. Not when we're camping. It doesn't happen.
Code.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's bear in the area and all kinds of stuff. So we always make sure. And then, Krista kind of has to start with her part of the story before I can even roll to mine. Krista, tell what happened to yours.
Yeah, I actually heard it coming up to the tent. And this was about a little after 3:00 in the morning. And I was on my phone and I had put my phone down. We had all been out around the fire and I had put my phone down and I was laying there still awake because we had a bad storm go through. So I kind of had a adrenaline rush. Actually, I was just trying to lay there and go sleep. So I finally put my phone down and I could hear something walking up towards the tent.
I would not be in a tent. I would have been in a car. That's me, though. I'm a chicken that way. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well, it wasn't. Honestly, I kind of, was like, okay, what's this? What's coming up? Because everything weird is coming to my mind. Where this was, we're in Missouri, and there's the Ozark howler, and you hear dogman and gugway and all kinds of crazy, bad type cryptids.
Yeah.
And so that's running through my mind. Well, I looked over to our tent, and the way the moon was shining, I seen the shadow of it. And it was definitely bipedal, and it was from like the middle of the arm to about here, what I saw. So yeah, it was crazy without a doubt. I have no doubt what it was. And then Brandy just validated it.
Right. Yeah. Cause I was sleeping in my car and like I said, I heard the taps and everything and I'm like, okay. And then I hear the footsteps. So I lean up real slow and I'm trying to get my eyes to focus because it hadn't been that long since I'd been asleep, and I'm like, I could feel it. I'm like, I am just so tired. Well, I looked towards the tent and the tent wasn't open. There was no lights on. I'm like, okay. So I just kind of turned and scanned to the other side and we had, other people in a tent right next to us, on the other side of my car. And I scanned over that way and it was standing right behind their tent. And it was kind of doing this little side, back and forth kind of thing that, kind of peeking around the tent or what it was doing. I had a little bit of condensation on my window, so I really couldn't tell what it was exactly looking at. But I'm thinking, oh my God, what if it sees me? But, at first I'm thinking, okay, is that a bear? I'm like, no, that's not a bear. It's not a person, and then when it clicked in my head, I know what I'm looking at and it's this close. I'm thinking, what if it sees me? And I realized at that moment that car was a false sense of security.
Don't tell me that, because that would be my only saving grace.
I'm sorry to say it, but the width of this thing, its chest area and the height of it, it could have broke my window, ripped me out of the car before anybody could have got out of the tent. I'd have been gone. If it wanted to take me at that point, I'd have been gone.
Yeah.
That's just the way it was. It was really.
Do you think they would? Okay, no. Do you feel like they're that type of a thing, though? Do you feel like if they're approaching you, are they going to rip you apart? Like if they're coming to look at your tent, for instance, while you're asleep.
Here's the thing.
There's a curiosity about, who these people are. That chick smells good or something,
Well, what I kind of thought, like I said, everything bad was coming in my head, and I was laying down. My head was towards the back of the cot. So it was within 5 feet of my head on the other side of the tent. So I sat up really quick.
Sorry. I'm doing this because just listening to you guys tell a story, I'm feeling this anxiety about being in a tent with that being on the other
Yeah.
side of that little thin, and
Mhm.
you even being worried in the car due to the
Yeah.
size and
Yeah.
the
The
mass
size
of
of it.
this thing.
Mhm.
And quite
Yeah.
frankly,
You
6.5 foot tall squatch is not a very tall squatch. So it's
Yeah.
bulky. It's
Right.
muscular. Doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Because aren't they up to like 8 feet or something crazy like that?
Some of them, this particular
Right.
one. So fast forward to that next morning. Brandy, you want to tell that about what all Shane found and like validated everything we said? Brandy, you want to talk about that?
Okay. I know I'm probably still froze up.
You're not
Oh,
frozen.
Yeah.
sort of
Can you hear me right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can you hear me at all?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so the next morning we were telling an actual Bigfoot researcher about everything we saw. And he said, you know what? He was listening to our story, and at that point he believed us probably about 20%. He didn't doubt us, but he's got to make sure. So when
Oh,
he was
obviously.
going
Yeah.
through, yeah,
Mhm.
he was going through and he actually found what's called a push trail. And the push trail is how the grass and everything lays down as you're walking forward. So he was watching this push trail and followed it all the way around the camp. We found impressions that were the footsteps were about 13 to 14 inches, the foot itself, the size of the foot. And there was probably about 8 other people in the camp that actually validated its movements at different times that we were
Wow.
talking about.
In the
So,
timeline, yeah, we all,
basically the
yeah,
encounter started probably about 3 yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
So it was crazy because it started with a guy thinking that somebody was rooting through his personal stuff, his totes. So and then
Yeah.
he actually yelled at it because he had yeah, he had a little issue with a guy that had been at camp, and he thought it was that guy messing with his stuff. So he
Yeah.
yelled at it.
Yeah.
So we think what happened is it left him that he probably kind of spooked it, and it came up and went around, and there was an old big round hay bale sitting there, and it came up, and that's where our tent was, and Brandy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was sitting. Like I said, that car,
Mhm.
the only good thing you got going for you there is you can see it.
Yeah.
That's
That's it. Like I said.
see, as panicked as this makes me feel, I would still be there, but I would
Mhm.
even if it's a false sense of security, I would if I was in a tent, I would lose my mind.
Well,
Pretty
and
sure.
you know what? Not only being in the tent, but here's my problem too. Brandy and I have went to Land Between the Lakes with several people that's in chat. Letitia Nunley and War Criminal 7 are in there. And we've went out and we've had, you could hear something following you back in the middle of the night, in this area. So was I scared, spooked? Yes.
Mhm.
However, I will say, like the tent ordeal, we had all the windows zipped all the way up. So my sense of sight was gone. I couldn't
Okay.
see. And that's something
Mhm.
that's scary because you rely on that, and I didn't have that. So that freaked me out too.
But again, I'm going back, and this would not make me feel better in that position.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back, if it really wanted to hurt you guys, it would have done
Right.
so. Because
Absolutely.
like what was
Oh
stopping
yeah.
it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So is it like
If at any
curious or
time
looking for your beer or what? What is it doing
uh,
in
well
there?
the thing was with the storm that rolled through, I mean, our mess tent with all the food and everything, all the trash was everywhere. Of course, this was at nighttime. We couldn't see everything, so we thought, hey, we'll just leave it till morning. Um, we kind of looked and assessed the damage, and there was quite a few. There was tents down, just actually mangled, like the bars and everything were twisted, and so to me, if I thought at any time that this thing looked aggressive or was showing any type of aggressive behavior, I would have turned on my lights, started my car, beat my horn. I would have done
Right.
something at that point. But as I was looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if this thing sees me. I think it had already seen me, according to Krista, because the way it walked around the tent, I'm pretty sure it already seen me. I
think it was by her car.
Right, because it was very cold. So I had my sleeping bag up over my head, and I tell everybody this, that I breathe inside my sleeping bag to keep my body warm when I'm cold. So I was just like that and had my face covered, breathing. So I'm thinking, you know, I'm not going to get out and yell surprise or come here, I want to touch you type of thing. I'm not going to run out and do that. But what I'll do is I'll just lay down nice and easy, get in the same position and cover my face and see, what it does, because it doesn't seem anything. We'll just let it continue doing. Yeah, I would do the same thing with the bear. I would just keep quiet and let it do its thing and just keep on moving.
Absolutely fascinating to me.
Yeah.
See, but at the same time, my fear. But I've never been in that position either. And like I said, it's kind of like going back to what we were talking about before with demonology or the bad vibe stuff, right?
Yeah.
Here I think I'd freak out and I don't. So I wonder how I would react if that actually happened to me. If I would be like disassociation, how great that is sometimes, where you're just like, yes, I'm seeing something terrifying, but I'm going to go to my happy place now.
Well, you know what though? The thing is that we all had such an adrenaline rush, I think.
Yeah.
And I crashed hard after it. I slept. And so did Brandy. Our adrenaline got up so high, Werewolf asked, Krista, did you guys have weapons? We did not on us. However, other people around camp did. We had bear spray. However, I left the bear spray in the car. My car, not Brandy's car. So it would have done us no good.
So
I had bear spray.
Was everybody there for I'm sorry to interrupt you. Was everybody that was in this camp there for like a Squatch thing?
Yeah.
So what it was it was a Bigfoot conference.
Okay.
During the day. So, but some members had been there all week long and doing their Bigfoot research, that kind of thing. So we believe that, we were all sitting around the fire, that they've probably been watching all week long.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
And 3:00, all week long up until that night, everybody had been in bed and asleep. So they're probably thinking, okay, it was safe for me to come out. I had put my phone down, so my tent was dark, and
you're probably like their run fair. They know they have to show up and do a little jazz hands for you before you take off to make it worthwhile.
Yeah,
because it was incredible. It really was. Honestly, that it was an incredible experience. Was I kind of freaked out?
I think that's amazing. I think that's awesome that you guys.
Do I want to repeat it? Yes.
Yeah. But we've been out in the woods for 3 days at that point, and I'm sure we were smelling great. But
maybe you were.
Maybe we were. That is a point. But I think with the storm and then it watching and then with the trash flying everywhere, the storm kind of like softened the ground a little bit, made the leaves weren't as crunchy. And there was a dry creek bed kind of down in there, but with all the rain, well, then all of a sudden the water was rushing through it, which was making noise. Daniel Perez from the Bigfoot Times, he wrote about our whole story and everything, and he deemed it like the perfect storm. Like everything added up perfectly for these things to come in and look. Yeah, because he did a whole write-up on it. Yeah, it was great.
So are you doing a TV show now?
Not yet.
No.
See you on TV, ladies?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Not yet.
It's a fascinating story. It really is.
Yeah. And it was like a chance of a lifetime encounter, I believe. And the fact that, it happened to us and we were open to it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the first time we went out in the woods to find anything, to look for anything like this.
Right.
It just happened to find us that night, and it was awesome. It was awesome.
There's, I've watched all the shows that you all have over the years, and some of them are, they say that they've run into a more aggressive version.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, like I was saying, where there's good, there's bad. I guess there's good people and bad people. Why wouldn't there be like crabby Squatch opposed to fun-loving Squatch?
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, if, I don't know, I'm probably going off too far into the deep end for like
not at all
the time you have left.
No,
not at all.
But like, how many of these missing people are where they're, like I said, if there's like these portals, if you will, that they're crossing through like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They very could well be. And, like Brandy and I believe they're different types of Bigfoot too. We don't lump them all into one category. We believe, in the Gugways, we believe, which is a bad Bigfoot. They're face eaters, Genosqua. I mean, there's all kinds of different ones that some are more aggressive than others, and they look different.
Yeah. But then again, just like we think of dogs, that some dog breeds are more aggressive. Maybe it's just because we don't understand the breed.
We probably don't understand any of this. Like, they could be super duper intelligent, and we think that they're they're obviously intelligent, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they could be much more than we think they are that way. They have to be smarter than us if they're hiding that well.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we just think we're all that, and we're like the dodos of the planet, So,
I just like you got to think of the ocean and how many things are in the ocean that we have never seen.
Absolutely.
You don't know.
And stuff's starting to come up though. If you have noticed.
Yes. And that's why I'm really diving into uptick in sightings of things that we've just never seen. That these, like even the sightings for Bigfoot, Dogman, any type of cryptid, the paranormal activity has ramped up, and
big time.
I'm just wondering if there's something leading to this, spiritually, or is this maybe an actual Earth thing? Because they're saying that the Earth is tilting, a little bit more than it used to. I mean, we're just talking like a little itty bitty bit, but
it doesn't
that
take
little
much to throw us off.
Right. And that itty bitty bit could make a whole lot of difference.
I think that there's something going on across the board. I think it's going across the board on all of the different dimensional areas, all the levels, if you will, those we see and those we don't see. There is something changing, which is also part of why we're seeing some really horrifying things right now. And I'm not just talking about the obvious ones. I don't even want to bring it up. But there's like other stuff, the ice is melting.
Yeah.
Stuff's coming out of the ice that they've never seen before. They're finding old, extraordinarily old, older than they even know yet, settlements in parts of these places that have been under ice for how many thousands of years, where it used to be a more tropical type atmosphere back then. They didn't even know people were there.
Right.
And these settlement, all of these artifacts are showing up, and it just seems like everything's getting regurgitated from the past and pushed back up to right now.
Yeah.
Why that's happening, I don't know.
Right.
Well, I even think that the seasons are shifting, and that the weather patterns that we could normally follow are changing, because even in my area over here, we would have tornadoes, like, but we were not considered Tornado Alley, but now we are. Like, decades later, it's like moving.
When I was a kid, I remember walking to school and the snow was up to my waist in my town.
Yes.
And I still was going to school, by the way, because I'm Gen X and we're tough. But anyway,
That's right.
Anymore.
Uphill both ways.
We don't have winters. Everybody's like, oh, Wisconsin's cold. Yeah, but not like it used to be.
Right.
This the question that's up about mermaids and megalodons. I say where there's smoke, there's fire. I think those are probably, the megalodon in particular, I would believe is more of a natural, that is what they think is extinct, but do we really know if it's extinct, or is it just so deep that we don't see it? The oceans are vast. We don't know what's in there. And we can't even pretend like we do know. We don't know.
Yeah.
As far as mermaids, I don't doubt that there's something like that out there. I mean, I know there's fake documentaries out there on them, but
Right.
and I'm not going to say it's a woman, a sexy lady on top and a fish on the bottom. I don't know if it's that.
Agreed.
But there's got to be something like it that happened at some point, or people have seen stuff and they swear up and down that's what they saw. And they're all different walks. So that's my opinion. I don't know what you guys feel, but that could be a portal type thing. Mermaids.
Yeah, and I mean, I always throw mermaids and sirens kind of in the same spiritual realm type of thing. I do too.
Nasty.
And that's a whole different show. That's a whole different
show.
It really is. I mean, it's like you can talk for hours and hours about it. So, but I think you're right, Dana, when you're saying that the megalodon is more of a natural.
I think the
type thing.
megalodon was, obviously. That doesn't mean it isn't still kind of like Loch Ness. That could be some type of dinosaur.
Right. Well, I had watched a documentary, and I really can't tell you exactly which one it was, but it was about monkeys that supposedly have been extinct, and that they're finding them again just by pure accident. So maybe we thought they were extinct,
right? Because we all,
not.
That's man. We think we're all knowing of these things, and
when really we're only guessing.
Half of the earth where these things are hiding out because we were killing them off is probably populated with all of this stuff, and it's all hidden.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but some of it.
Yeah. Right.
We should do a show. Like I'm coming back.
Of course you come back.
You should.
That's super interesting.
We can actually do that. We would love to have you back if you're open for it. That would be a great topic.
I mean, we could do a panel on that. I mean, just
because this is the stuff I geek out on. Everybody wants to talk to me, and I am a psychic medium. That's what I do. That's what I love to do. But I am so into the cryptid stuff, also the UFO stuff, because I do think it's all connected somehow.
Yeah.
So and it's all churned up. There's all these different things now that we're seeing that we've never seen before. Why not mermaids? Why not megalodons? Who are we to say?
That's exactly it. And Chris and I just love probably everything. It's just like
if you got weird, something weird,
if it's weird, I'm there. Let me in. Yeah, I
let's
agree
do
with
it.
That. That Tasmanian devil tiger. Somebody Standing Stones just wrote that.
Yeah,
that's another one. They're like, oh yeah, it's extinct. Whatever. This thing comes trotting out.
Hey,
surprise!
Right,
idiots. Right. I'm still here.
Right.
So there was that African tribe too. I remember I was in grade school into high school. They talked about this, where there was a particular tribe that was telling these scientists, this was like an actual scientific article, that there was a brontosaurus living in the jungles.
Wow.
In this part of Africa. Pretty sure it was Africa. I don't think it was South America. I'm pretty sure it was Africa. Anyway, and they had like drawn it, and they were taking these guys out, and there was like this evidence, and then you never heard another word about it. But there was more than one, and I'm pretty sure it was just brontosaurus. I don't remember them talking about, there was a T-Rex, and you know, some guy like stealing secrets from a lab. And no, it's not like Jurassic Park, but
wow.
Right. It's just the one, people. We're only talking about one type here. We're not talking about the whole.
Can you imagine, they think it's normal for this brontosaurus to be cruising around where their village is, and we show up because they've never talked to white people or people from English speaking people that are civilized, but that way. And they're like, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
We've got this, and it was
now. Do you know if that the people who went there to check this story out, has anybody heard from them since then?
I think so. I haven't read up on it in 100 years. That was like one of my first introductions to the possibilities of such things being maybe something did happen. But, I can't say it was a true story, but it was a story that came from I can't remember what it was. It was my dad again, of course. He had you would never think this man read like he did, but he did. He had some book or magazine that he pointed it out to me because, I was the weird kid and I would get into it. And I was just absolutely fascinated. And I was like, are you kidding me? That these people are swearing up and down that they had this.
Yeah.
But knowing us, we probably found out somebody from here flew over, took it out of there to study it. And I don't know. I should write a movie. I'm going to make a movie about this. Watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Kind of like King Kong, they went in, they took him out.
But,
yeah.
I don't know. That's just, and again, that's like from my way past. So I'd have to like try to find it now, but it's worth looking for if you can, because it was a really interesting article.
Yeah.
Those people going in there and, they didn't speak the language, but they were showing them pictures and not photographs, but drawings,
Right.
Kind of.
I'm writing it down so I can
do that. Then let me know if you find it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Little Patty says, we don't know. Cryptids might think that humans are a special kind of stupid.
Oh, I can guarantee they probably think that, Patty.
Right.
We just think we're smart. We're all about us.
That's it. That's it. Little Patty had a question for me earlier, and I'll answer it real quick. I apologize for waiting so long. She says, Krista, was it a demon that tried to choke you? When that happened, it's happened to me twice. And no, both times it was an actual ghost. It had been a living spirit at one time.
It's just a nasty
human spirit. That's what it was. So, yeah.
I think the oppressive feeling, any type of oppression, so that could include strangulation, but I think there's more of a gut feeling of being yourself being repressed when it comes to those darker energies that are trying to manipulate you, is what I feel they do. I don't really necessarily think they're coming to possess, as they are much in a way they are, but it's more of a manipulation of who you are as a human being, to twist that and change you to cause problems for you, or to cause pain for others and yourself. That's what it feels like to me, is more of a manipulative bend to it than like, it's that too. But the scary part the most is that it can affect the way that you are thinking clearly and make you think of things that are very irrational. That's terrifying, because that's a loss of control.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
I sound like I think about this a lot.
Makes me think.
I mean, there are particular humans, and we've all been around one or two in our life, if not more, but you get that feeling like you are not a good person. There is something really wrong with you. I can't put my finger on it. There's something really wrong with you, and I don't want any part of you. I'm just going to walk off.
I can see it in the eyes with people, because it always looks to me like they have glass eyes. There's no feeling in their eyes whatsoever.
Yeah.
When there's like a flat line. And that tells me that there's like possibly a sociopathic bend to this person. Not 100%.
Right.
But when you see that like little orphan Annie eyes looking at you, that's a really good indicator that whatever surface you're seeing is not exactly what's underneath that mask.
Right.
Well, you know what? I had met a person, and it was a famous person, and I will tell you after the show, I'm not going to mention their name on the air, but I looked at them, and you'll never guess. This is the thing. You'll never guess. And I looked at them, and I'm like, is there a soul in there?
I know more than
they
one
gave
of those.
They gave me like chills, like, ew, no, just not a person you want. Your soul is saying no. Just back up, step away from me. Yeah.
Well, and in the scheme of things, if you're working in the spiritual, And that sort of energy is attracted to those with abilities, like somebody asked earlier. Wouldn't it, being a manipulative type presence or power, where are they going to go? They're going to go to those people and try to manipulate them.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing could very much be not truly the person you think you're looking at, but something that's already been trying to get in, or
absolutely.
And that, isn't that scary though? That you not only have to worry about the human factor, which is bad enough,
right?
But there are other things. But there are other things out there that want you just as bad, and you can't see them.
And they're sneaky. Well, it's also sneaky because sometimes those people are completely normal, and then it turns on a dime. And they become violent or abusive, or
their true self comes
drinking themselves into these states, or they're doing these bizarro things. That to me feels closer, and I'm sure I'd have 100,000 people yelling at me right now saying I'm wrong, but I think that would be more of the common possession than what we there is the cases like the big ones, I'm not denying that, but across the board I think it's probably a little bit more frequent than people like to admit.
I would agree.
It doesn't have to be a full-on possession.
No,
they could just put you into the oppression, the oppression side, where they're that they're just manipulating how you're reacting and how you're acting and what you're saying, your feelings and things like that. That's, to me, that's worse than anything.
Well, that's what I mean, because it's so subtle and it's very hard to detect. But and there are people running around right now that probably, have something or some, that maybe they had a horrible childhood, and in order to cope, they think they're doing it in a specific way, when actually it's something that was like, oh, look, a weakling.
Look, there's an opening. Let's take that one.
Right. Right. And again, I'm sure, there's probably a faction of these people that think you can act nice to these things and love them up, and that's going to magically make them that's going to clear that away. And I call BS, and I'll stand by that as hard as I can, because I know better. That's a very dangerous way to play.
They are misinformed, by the way. They are misinformed.
Or really haven't truly experienced that type of energy. Thank you. It's so nice to be liked.
You've had a lot of nice compliments in chat.
We've had a ton. We've had a ton in here.
We have the best people in our chat. We truly do.
We do.
Yeah, these guys were hanging in there way before the show even started. They were chit-chatting back and forth. You must have like people that come every week.
Oh yeah.
And like hang out. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They're awesome people. We definitely have the best people for sure. Well, we are past the hour and a half mark, guys.
Oops, I better shut up.
No, you're good. You are good.
I could talk for like 12 hours. You guys be
actually,
like, go to
bed. Well, actually, all that means is that just opens us up for part 2. That's all.
That's right.
Count me in. Just let me
so hang on, because before you hop off, we can book you again.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And we'll get you all taken care of. And then I'll tell you my mystery celebrity too.
Oh, yes. And I won't tell Soul.
You probably know them.
It's all right. I know a lot of people.
Kirsten, this is probably a new one for you too. I don't even think I ever told you the story.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
All right.
Oh,
yeah.
Somebody
there was one more question. I'm not sure.
About Lancaster, Wisconsin.
I'm sorry, I missed that question. Yes.
Spiritual Odyssey, I'll answer real quick. I think they were talking about stuff happening up in that area. I think it was related to Squatch. I have to say yes. There have been reports in that area, because it's a very Amish area of Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So, yes, and I'm sorry, Spiritual Odyssey or whatever your true
No,
name is.
I apologize because chat sometimes moves so fast and I miss some of them. And I apologize for that, guys. Totally sorry about that. But tune in tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we are talking Ouija boards and puck wedgies. So
What a combination.
What a combination, right?
That's cool. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
So we appreciate everybody tuning in. And then Saturday night, we actually we have Josh Turner coming on. We're going to do a special Saturday night show at
8 p.m. Central.
Yep. So we will see everybody tomorrow night. You all have a good night and see you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.